Standing Ovation Entertainment and Ideal Weddings with DJ Tony Colors. You can find me at facebook.com/Tony L. Goins or on Instagram at instagram.com/DJ Tony Colors. But right now, you are tuned into the BRI, Black Research Institute, with the Negas, Denoris Wilson.
You deserve a standing ovation.
In the Black American reality, the people are presented with representations of real-life kings and queens through the medium of the Black Research Institute, BRI. These are their stories.
What's up, everybody? What it do, man? It's your man, Amani from the Major League Band, and you're now watching the wonderful, wonderful series of BRI, Black Research Institute, with my good man, Denoris Wilson.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Lady Rock. Look, I want to give a big shout out to Denoris Wilson of BRI, the Black Research Institute. Keep doing your thing.
Welcome everybody to the BRI, which is the Black Research Institute, and our limit is the sky. See, I try to merge entertainment with information, and the icing on the cake is the dope conversation. Ain't no time for the faking, debating, or the hating. I'm trying to hip you all to the moves they be making. They all struggle, but still find a way to make a way. Fight back, count stack, stay black all day. So I seek to supply you all with inspiration, with information to remedy our present situation by showing you examples of black royalty, and you never have to question my intent or loyalty. We're moving forward with the strength that's supremely kinetic, confident, black, unapologetic. Instilling self-love is what really we hope. No doubt about it, black people, we dope. Yes, we're some dope individuals. And as soon as we realize that and understand that, we will be able to go forward. And tonight is no different. I got a dope individual with me. We had a little bit of mishap with our last trying to get her on the show, but this special edition, I got her, and I'm glad that she contacted me, because I think like these are what she does is one of the fields that, most of us don't see a lot of us doing. Therefore, if we don't see it, how can we be inspired to do it? And hopefully, someone will see this and who may be on the fence about, going into the profession, and it may light a spark in her. So when we come back from the secondary intro, I'm going to introduce tonight's guest, and I got some questions to ask her. But let's roll the secondary intro, and in about 30 seconds, our guest will be here. So tonight's guest is now a former law clerk for the U.S. Department of Education. And it's befitting. So now the gloves are off. I can ask her some things, The gloves are off now, so I can ask her some things about her profession. So everybody, BRI, let's welcome Miss Leonette Rainey-Hammett.
Hello.
Hello, Leonette. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
This part of the show always gets me because you and I had a conversation before. So I got to act like that we're just now seeing each other. Right. But how are you? How was your holiday? How was your Thanksgiving?
My holiday was magnificent. We had a really good time. I got to see my family. It's been a while, so it was great. It was wonderful. How about yourself?
Oh, it was great. I got to spend time with my family as well. I got a blended family, so I had to make a couple of,
right.
move different places, but I really enjoyed it. But before we start the show, it's customary to ask you two questions. Okay, you ready? Mm-hmm. So the first question is, are you happy?
Very happy. Yes.
Okay. And the next question is, are you being safe?
Very safe, for sure.
Well,
without a question.
So even though you and I both were in New Haven, probably at the same time, mm-hmm. I never ran into you. I don't know you from a can of paint. You don't know me from a can of paint. So introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about yourself to the BRI viewing audience.
Okay. So my name is Leonette. I am from New Haven, born and raised. I moved away from New Haven several times. I went away to college right after high school. I went to Howard in DC, so I was there. And then I left Howard. I came back home. I ended up finishing up my undergraduate degree at Albertus Magnus. And then from there, I moved to Manhattan, where I worked for Bloomberg as a financial analyst, as it was called. It was in the analytics department. After working at Bloomberg in Manhattan, I moved to North Carolina. I opened a salon. I moved back to Connecticut. Yeah, I've done all the things. And then ultimately, after I had my daughter at the ripe age of 33, my first child, I decided I wanted to go back to school and do something. So that is when I started looking into law school. I was like, what can I do to maximize my impact? And, to be just really, I guess, social justice and helping the community has just always been at the forefront of my mind. I think having a child really brought that to the next level. And that is how I found myself at law school as a 30, I believe I started law school at 36 to 37 years old.
Okay. So you are a serial entrepreneur.
Yes. I guess you could call me that. Yes.
You're a serial entrepreneur. So this is the thing. I want to ask you. Okay, let's start with the salon. Mm-hmm. Let's start there. We're gonna get to the law clerk and all that, but let's start with the salon. When you decided to open your salon, what was the thought process?
So it was actually a very easy decision to make because my mom has done hair since I was born. She was a hairdresser. She opened her own salon. She was a stay-at-home mom with us. And she opened or started working in a salon, I believe, when I first started high school. And then she opened her own salon shortly thereafter. And but she always did hair at home and everything. So I knew the inner workings of a salon. The opportunity came to me because my cousins who lived in North Carolina, they live in Durham. Well, they live in Raleigh, but we opened a salon in Durham. We were all on a family vacation and they came to me with the proposal. We're thinking about opening a salon, move to North Carolina and go into business with us. So it was a no-brainer. So I was like, okay, I know how to do that. I can do that without a question. So I went and I gave it a try. Very naively, not thinking about everything that goes into not just having a business, but a partnership.
Right. So with that being said, when you started or when you opened up the salon, what was your aspirations for it? Like, what did you envision it to be?
I thought that our salon was special. So we weren't just opening any salon because, we're going to do something. We were going to do it big. So our idea was that we were going to now this is back in 2009, no, maybe 2010. So we decided that we were going to sell hair, but we weren't going to sell like hair, like, people have weaved into their heads. Now we were selling whole unit wigs, but we were in Durham. So Research Triangle. I mean, there's a plethora of chemotherapy centers and things of that nature in that area. So our goal, and my cousin who I opened the business with, his mom passed away from breast cancer. So our goal was to market these like fine hair pieces, like really good wigs, to women who had lost their hair due to chemotherapy and radiation. That was initially our goal. So that's what we were like, yeah, like this is going to be huge. Like, we thought we were going to the moon with this idea because we didn't do any market research. So which is but in our mind, we thought that it made perfect sense. None of us, thanks be unto God, being a cancer survivor ourselves, not even knowing what was in the mind of those women. And we soon found out that they weren't interested in putting anything synthetic on their heads. So, but that was the goal.
And that's what I want to get to about being an entrepreneur. Like, when you come up with an idea, that idea to you just seems like it's great. It's it's a great idea,
it's
right?
The one. It's always the one.
And it may be.
Sometimes
but it takes work to get it there. Like it takes work to, like I was telling my father the other day, I was like, if a man can sit on his couch and take a blanket and cut 3 holes in it and call it a Snuggie and become a millionaire, right? Like, and become a millionaire off of a blanket and a hole.
Yeah.
It's like, but the idea wasn't unique because we all have done that.
Oh yeah.
Like, the idea is not unique, but the things that he did to get that idea to be what it was genius, because you only saw Snuggie commercials late at night.
Yes. Yes. Your defenses are down. Your defenses are down.
And then it's like, I was reading something because he did his research. He said that he read that infomercials are more effective in the late night. Like, they're more effective late night because people are like, either they're suffering from insomnia or they can't go to sleep or whatever, and they just start buying stuff. It's
genius. I mean, it's literally like your kids coming to ask you for something when you're on the phone. Right?
Yeah, get it. Go ahead. You can have it's over there.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. The answer is always yes.
And that's what I wanted to get with you about the hair salon, is that, a lot of people don't understand that, like, okay, the idea is great. I think all ideas they have the potential to be the one. I think any idea that you come up with has the potential to be the one. But are you willing to do the work? Right? Are you willing to do the work? And sometimes the work is very strenuous, right? Like, it's
without a question. And it's not just the work. It's also, are you willing to be flexible? Are you willing to, like, if it's not going to be exactly how you thought it was going to be, are you willing to move it over one space into the space that makes it more palatable, that gives you the audience that you were looking for, that is going to give you the return on your investment that you were looking for? Because maybe people don't want a blue balloon. They really want like a purple balloon. So are you willing to mix a little red in to make it purple? Because people don't want your blue balloon. So you have to take a lot of ego out of it. Like, ego has to go. You have to be willing to be flexible for your audience and give them, if you're offering a service, you absolutely have to give people what they want. It's not about you.
And you know what? Dick Cheney said the reason why he got to where he was is because of the people he surrounded himself with. Right? Like he surrounded himself with people that didn't always tell him yes.
My friends and I have this conversation probably every day.
Okay.
Like the importance of correction and being able to take correction. Like I don't think when I was younger, I don't think I noticed it. I to be honest, and I've had this conversation with people too, I don't think I was around too many like toxic people, as they say today. Like that wasn't really my environment. And it wasn't by any like doing of my own. It just so happens that that's just how life worked out for me at that time.
Right.
So like seeing people who weren't like loved properly as a child and who are therefore unable to take anytime you tell them that they're wrong or that maybe they could be doing something a little better, they see that as, oh, you're saying that I'm not worthy, that there's something wrong with me, that I'm inept, I'm incapable, I'm awful, and they completely shut down on you. It's like, so being able to take correction, like, and having someone in your group who will actually correct you in love, and like those things are so important in relationships and partnerships and business and life, just period. Like if you're uncoachable, you're not a good athlete. If you're uncoachable, you're not a good employee. If you're unable to take correction, it's not going to work. So you absolutely have to have someone in your circle who can correct you, who can give you honest advice, and you have to be able to receive it. It's like, again, ego. It's rough. It's got to be a rough road to be very successful and be very egotistical. Like, kind of.
I think a lot of us want cheerleaders, but we don't want coaches. Right? Like we want a cheerleader, someone to be like, yeah, do it. And I say that because whenever I was in New Haven, you remember there was a period of time where everybody was an MC and they had a CD that they wanted to, right. And they'll come up and say, man, would you want to support me? Here's my CD. And my response is, I'm not gonna pay you $5. How do I know I'm gonna like it?
Right.
Like how do I know? And then they were like, yo, you can just support. I say, do you want somebody to support you, or do you want somebody to like your music? Right? Do you want them to support you, or do you want somebody to like your music?
Right.
And I think a lot of us, when we tend to venture out and do things, we want support. Like we want somebody to pat us on the back or whatever, and not give us constructive criticism, and not like, you should do this. And I think like what happens is you get so discouraged because you're not getting support, but you're looking for the wrong thing.
Right.
You should be looking for someone to appreciate your music, to like or anything that you do. Anything that you do, you should be looking for someone to appreciate it, to see value in it, to see how it can help them versus how they can help you.
Definitely. But I would argue because I can come down on both sides of that.
That's the lawyer in you, though. That's the lawyer in you.
I would argue that there's room for both, because you need some people who are just supporters, who are just cheerleaders, who are just going to fund your project. And you also need the people who are close to you that you actually trust, who are telling you what you need to do to bring your project to the next level. Both of them are important, but you have to be able to see both of them. And you have to be able to recognize who is the cheerleader and who is the investor, who, that's actually invested in you. Like you have to be able to recognize both. But I would argue that you need both. There's a place for both of them.
But that's hard though when you are trying to do something that you believe in, and someone is coming to you and be like, I don't know. You're just a hater. You're a hater. That's what. Look, I tell people like that.
You're a hater.
Listen, I tell people like that. There's a saying they say, if you don't have any haters, you're doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. That's bull crap.
Bull. I don't have any haters.
I don't have any haters. Like, look. If I believe someone is quote unquote hating on me, it's because they don't understand me.
Okay.
Right, like they don't really understand.
You just don't
Because
understand
you
it.
can hate on me. How
Right.
you gonna hate on me? Like
Right,
you know,
right. I'm gonna be completely transparent here and say, although I don't have haters, I definitely have people who don't like me, and I don't have to be the one for everybody. I'm okay with that. And I mean, I think that it's for a valid reason. No, probably not, because I just don't think that it is. It's likely not. If, like you said, like, come on, like, it's not valid. If you actually sat down and were honest with yourself, you don't have any reason not to like me. But I'm gonna respect you for that. You can go ahead
right,
and
right.
operate that. Okay, I'm not gonna walk around and call you a hater.
Everybody ain't for everybody,
Everybody's not for everyone.
right? Like, so you're not a hater. You're just not for me, or I'm not for you. Like,
And that's okay. There's some people who are just not for me. It's just not for me. I don't
right.
wish any harm on them. I don't want them to fail and not succeed. Like, I hope you make it to the moon. I might not be watching, but I do hope you make it. Like, I'm busy. I'm a busy person. I'm not gonna be watching.
Right. But I still hope you make it. I still hope you
make it. I hope you make it. Even people who I have like people I'm not friends with anymore. People I don't wish any harm on you. But please know, I'm also not thinking about you. Like, I'm not thinking about you in any way, shape, or form. If you come into my mind, I will probably drop a quick prayer for you. But that's it. It's not to say I hope that they're doing everything they touch is failing. Like, I don't have time for that energy. I only want good things coming back to me. So I have to continuously put good things out there. I have to. So if that means not thinking about you, I just can't think about you. I'm not hating on you.
It's funny that you said that, because I was driving and I recently came up. I was like, everyone talks about karma being a B, right? Karma is a B, but they always talk about it in the negative aspect. Like,
Right.
You did somebody wrong and then it's going to come back on
Get
you.
it back. Yeah.
But if I can do somebody wrong and it come back on me, then I can do somebody right and it comes back on me as well.
Without question.
Right? Like, so it's funny because, we get these sayings and we get them ingrained in our head and it's just one way to look at that thing.
Mhm.
Like, it's just because they're ingrained in our head. It's almost like you and I, like, we were only expected to be, for you, a school teacher, maybe a school bus driver,
Right.
right? Like, a CNA.
Okay.
These are the jobs that you were expected to be able to do.
Absolutely.
But you rose beyond that, right? You rose beyond that, not only because you had the ability to rise, but because you wanted to.
I did. And I mean, I'm not a bootstrapper. Like, I'm not a person who thinks that everyone can just pull themselves up by their straps. I know that that's not real. I know that those are ideas that have been like implanted in our community to make us feel like there's something wrong with us if we have obstacles that you just keep coming. Everyone doesn't have the same strength or endurance or, whatever it is to be able to push through. And I understand that. I mean, we know that, right? Because mental health is real. Like, and we see people every day going through things and just unable to cope or deal with it. And I get it. But, and I mean, I have to say, I didn't have a lot of options growing up. My parents they didn't play. Like, when it came to education, when it came to, all the things, like my parents, they sent us to the best schools and they expected me to perform. So in my household, graduating from high school and doing anything other than going to college afterwards was not an option. It wasn't even up for discussion. You're going to college. What college are you going to?
Right.
It was not it wasn't like, so what do you want to do after high school? There was no question. I didn't have an option. I don't even think that I will raise my children the same way, just because of the way that college is becoming. I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's a money grab. But
right. But you know what though? It's crazy because even though college is a money grab, education is still the key, right? It's
hands down.
It's still the key. Now, I was telling someone, I was like, look, me and my cousin are the first people to go to college in my family. Like we're the first two people to go to college in my family. So and trust, there are a lot of Black American families that had nobody that went to college.
Absolutely.
Right? But if you look at it statistically, you will see that those people who went to college fare a little bit better than people who didn't.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily, and I tell people all the time, I tell my son this, he's in the Navy now, I say, it's not necessarily the formal education you get, it's more the social education that you get, right? Like, but go ahead, you elaborate, like Howard, a historical HBCU. How was that experience for you?
It was priceless. First of all, coming from New Haven, Connecticut. I didn't go to school in New Haven. I went to high school in Milford. I went to an all-girls Catholic school. I was one of less than 10 Black people in the Black girls in the school. I believe there was 3 or 4 of us that graduated in my class. So when I went to Howard University, I had my first Black teacher. That was my first time ever having a Black teacher ever in life.
Wow.
Right. First time.
And you're from New Haven?
And I'm from New Haven. Okay. So listen, you can just never paint all Black people with the same paintbrush. You just can't. You could put 3 of us in a room, and I'm telling you, our experiences are so different. So it's just like, and we can still have some of the same ideas, but whatever. So yes, that was my first time ever having a Black teacher at Howard. But like, of course, I lived in New Haven. I lived on Dixwell Avenue, but I went to private school my entire life.
Okay.
That was the investment that my parents, that had me at 20 years old, mind you. That was what they thought that they should do to give me a better chance. So yes, we lived on Dixwell Avenue, but my parents paid for private school. And we went on vacation every year. Like, they tried to expose us to as much as they could. They tried to give us the experiences and school, because that was the only way that's how you get out. Like, that's how you get to the next level. And it was very important to them that happened for us. Even though both of my parents ended up being successful entrepreneurs, they wanted the education piece because there's more out there. And to your point, getting right back to that, being at Howard, when you're around people who look like you, first of all, and are brilliant. I mean, these are great. No lie, the great thinkers of the world. Like, I can tell you, people from my class who have gone on to do phenomenal things, phenomenal things. So it's like, and that's from undergrad, and I'm not even talking about my law school class. Same thing. But when you look at that, this is when, like, I say that I don't put a lot of stock in like college because it is a money grab, but there is something that you get that is priceless. And you can see it even like with this whole thing that had been going on with the elections and all of this stuff, and even the coronavirus and all this stuff. When you listen to people talking, there is a difference. There's a difference. You can get your whole education from YouTube. We know that. Like, you can go on YouTube and find out everything you need to know. The problem comes in when you really don't know how to discern which information is good information and which information is not, because you just don't know. It's anything being thrown at you, you're taking it in. I mean, I've seen so many people, I'm like, and you believe that? Like, there's nothing behind that. Like, what's the authority on that? So nothing backs it up, but you believe it. Right. Hands down. Right. Because there's nothing there. There was no foundation laid. So I think that is where school comes in, and it does make the difference. When you go to an institution of higher learning, you end up with a different perspective and an ability, I believe, to discern between trash information and good information, no matter where you're getting it from.
Well, I went to Elizabeth City State University initially. I went to Elizabeth City, small school. And just like you, I have people that I went to school with at Elizabeth City that are doing phenomenal things. And I think the benefit of going to a HBCU is that they don't give you the answers. Like, you're not getting the answers. You are not going to get the answers. Like, you're going to have to research. You're going to have to do your own thing. Right. And that's what education is really supposed to be about. It's not to give you the answers, but to teach you how to find the answers.
It's so
right?
important. Yes. And that's it. Being able to take in all of that information and find the answer. Like that is, it's monumental.
And so Howard, you left Howard and then you went back to New Haven. And I know when you went back to New Haven, you're like, oh God.
What? Why did I come back? Because at first I was like, I miss home. I come from a close-knit family. I have a big family. I'm not immediate family. I just have a brother, but my cousins, my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, like, I missed all of the things. I was like, I want to go home. I just want to go home. When I got back home, I was like, I was just kidding. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here.
And you kind of feel ashamed because you don't feel like you're better than them. It's just that now that you have a plethora of, you have more experiences than the people around you have been exposed to, and
you
it's
can't
like
unsee it. You can't unsee all of the things that you've seen. So when you come back to like a small place where people can be very small-minded, I mean, it's not their fault. It's just the environment. You're like, oh, I'm suffocating here. Like, no, this is you. Do you know that there's more out there? Like, it's hard because, like I said, you can't unsee it. You cannot.
You love it. You love the place. You love the people. It's just you're a different person now. Like you're different. Like you're different now. So after you had your daughter, you decided to go to law school, which is and deciding to go to law school is a big step, but you decided to go to one of the best law schools in the country.
Without a question, without a question, with a child almost 20 years older than most of my peers. And listen, law school, what people don't understand is you are fighting for every grade you get in law school. So I hadn't been to school in like 15, 20 years. It had been years since I had been in school at all. And I had great jobs in between, but thinking on that level with people who just came out of undergrad or who only, been out of undergrad for 2 or 3 years, it was a fight to the death. Because, it was everything, like learning, because law school is going to break you down anyway. You learn how to write again. Like I thought I was a great writer. Like my vocabulary was great. I speak great English. I'm like, and I write well. Like I've always had, great grades and all of that, all of the things. However, when I went to law school, I immediately felt like I could not read nor write because I'm reading stuff and I'm like, it's not, I don't get it. Like what does this mean? But and that was the only good thing about it. We were all on the same level because one thing that nothing can prepare you for is law school. Like, I mean, I remember my first week we had to get like vaccinations and I'm in the clinic at, Howard. And so we're there, everyone's there, like all the grad students. And there were two guys in there and they were in the medical school. And so they're like, oh, what school are you in? I'm like, oh, I'm in the law school. And they were like, the law school? They're like, oh, I could never do that. I'm like, you said that you're a 3rd year medical student? He was like, yeah, but my roommate was in law school and the work that you guys do, that reading that y'all have to do, those papers, he's like, I couldn't do it. I would have failed out. You're going to be a surgeon. Yeah. And you couldn't do law school. No. Like, people don't understand that though.
But the difference between being, and I say this, the difference between being a surgeon or a doctor and a lawyer is a doctor is a practicing profession, meaning you're always discovering something different or, a different technique, a different way or whatever. But law is stamped. It's a stamped thing.
It is. But the similarity there or the commonality between the two, as far as it being a practice, is with law, the only way that things change is by finding something new. Like everything Brown versus the Board of Education only happened because they took the same law that was already on the books and they kept going at it, Charles Hamilton Houston going at it in another way to try to figure out how they could bring this back to the court and make them side and make them decide another way. That's the only reason that it happened. So
It's
law, it that's the it's that part of it. You have to think. You have to take this same old antiquated piece of information or law. You have to take this antiquated law and you have to look at it and you have to find something that allows you to come in another way in order to turn it around and be able to do what you want to do with it. And it's so that's the challenge. That's the challenge. That's what we're all grappling with now. Like, how do we change these laws? Like, how do we make police be held accountable for all of those things? We're using the same law, but you have to somebody has to be able to come in and find the end. Like,
I'm glad we segued the law. Okay, so as a law clerk for the U.S. Department of Education, what were some of your duties?
So I adjudicated cases I worked for borrower's defense. Okay.
We are an intelligent viewing audience here
Right,
to be.
okay.
Okay, but explain adjudicated.
Okay, I decided cases. It's a decision. We were the decision makers for the borrower's defense group, and the borrower's defense is basically it allows people who took out student loans for schools that were predatory. And now they want to bring a claim against the Board of Education. They want to be absolved of their loans. So if you had a student loan for going to a school that was found to have lied and made misrepresentations to you, then you could make a claim to the Board of Education, to the federal Department of Education, and say that I should not have to pay back these loans. And we would decide based on the law. Congress came down with a law. This law is not new or anything, but the Obama administration decided that there should be some reprieve for these students because, the schools were being sued and made to pay back some of that money to the federal government. And there had to be a way that should be able to trickle down to the borrowers. So that's what we did. We decided those cases.
So was it a lot of them?
When we came in, when we started, so this is the crazy thing about working for the government. Every 4 years, there's a possibility for an administration change, which means your job can be flipped on its head. Not that you're going to lose your job, depending on, if you're appointed or not, but it can be flipped on its head. You can go from deciding one way to deciding the opposite way.
Right.
I can tell you that the amount of cases that we were hit with or that we were brought in to adjudicate was ridiculous. It was all over the news. It was astronomical. And the reason was because some of these cases sat for 5 years. They sat because there was no team put together to adjudicate them. 2, the law wasn't there. No one had come up with the law. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the law wasn't there. The law was there. But how it was going to be applied had not been decided yet, or how it should be applied. So what happened was it was during the Trump administration, the decision was basically it was going to be applied very narrowly. So that means if it's going to be applied in a narrow way, that means that you have to have these 3 specific things in order to get your loans, forgiven. And then under the Obama administration, when the law first came into play, it was going to be applied very broadly. So that means that, most of you are going to get your money back because it's just only fair, right? This is like a black and white issue. You went to a school, you did not get what they told you they were going to give you, and they were predatory. They looked for people who they were the first person to go to college in their family. They told you that you were going to make $100,000 a year. They told you that they were going to put you in front of companies like Facebook and Google and that you were definitely going to get a job. These are lies that this school told you, and you signed up and you have all this debt and you can't get a job anywhere making more than $10 an hour. So obviously we should give you your money back. That's how it was going to be applied under the Obama administration. Trump came in and said, absolutely not. We just had an administration change this year.
And now it's broad again.
If you look at, you can look, you Google it. Like we had, I'm telling you, January, February, put a hold on everything. Oh, all of those people who are only going to get some arbitrary amount of money back. No, sweeping reform,
See
they're getting
now,
100% of their money back.
now that you said that, I can see why it would be applied very narrowly in the Trump administration, considering the Trump University.
Yes. So
Right.
and
Okay.
you understand the Betsy DeVoe connection to Trump University.
Right. Okay.
Betsy DeVoe is married to the guy from Amway, right? I mean, those are you all
Amway.
like we just talked about circles, right? That's their circle. So who do you think their friends are? The people who are business people and went out and created these fraudulent schools.
And it's crazy, right? Because even though that is happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that. Like we don't know that. We like and I would gather, like, even though you were working hard to help people get their loans forgiven for these fraudulent schools, there are millions of other people out there that could apply for the same thing, but they just don't know anything about it. Wow.
This is true.
Wow. Did you like your job there?
I think I started to like it more under the new administration. I will definitely say that under the old administration, I started to feel like this is not what I went to law school for.
Right.
You know, I sacrificed a lot to go to law school. Like I sacrificed time with my child. I sacrificed time with my family. Law school is a bid, as they say. Like you are in the books. I sacrificed birthday parties with my friends. And those things mean something because everyone is not here today. You know what I mean? Like, so those moments and experiences, they're important. It's important. And it's stuff that you cannot get back. So those are 3 years of my life that I can never get back. Never. After I had my son, I graduated. I was 9 months pregnant when I graduated. Mm-hmm. And I studied for the bar the first 6 weeks of my son's life. Like I'm studying for the bar. So I'm torn the entire time between wanting to hold my baby and nurse my baby and, you know, just do all the things and studying for the bar because I need to pass. I want to pass. Like, you know, and I didn't pass that was my first and only try as of now. And I'm not ashamed to say at all because like I was nursing the day of the exam. I'm not nursing. I had to pump. I had to take breaks, you know, and during one of the breaks, they took one of my exams. This is like my little crazy story, but they took one of my exams and they didn't give it back. So I couldn't complete it. And I ended up missing the bar by 8 points. So that tore me up because I'm thinking though that 8 points was in the packet that y'all took and didn't give back to me without me knowing that you were going to do that. I passed the written part of the bar exam, which arguably is the hardest part. Like I wrote for the bar and passed that part, no problem. But on the multiple choice part, which I wasn't even worried about going in, I couldn't finish it. So these are the sacrifices. And so then I had to deal with that. Like I had to deal with the angst of I didn't pass the bar. Like what? That was never my expectation. So all of these things I sacrificed for law school and all of that. I did not sacrifice my mental, you know, my emotions, my child. And my daughter would cry on FaceTime every night. She was with my mom in Maryland. So she was only 30 minutes away. I picked her up every Friday. I kept her at my apartment with me in DC on the weekends and I studied and she would be like, Mom, I'll just watch TV. She didn't care because she just wanted to be there. You know, all of those things. This is what the sacrifice looked like. I would cry because I wanted to. I'd cry. She'd be on FaceTime crying. And I'm like in tears because I want her as well. And I couldn't because I needed to study. And then so those are the things I sacrificed. So when I looked at what it cost and what I was doing, I didn't feel like what I was doing was helping people, nor was it making the impact that I wanted to make. It was making everything that I sacrificed not worth it. So that's why I started to feel like, okay, if something doesn't change, so had the election gone another way, I was going to be out anyway.
Right, exactly.
Without question, because it was, you know, I was like, I just started to feel like this isn't right. Like, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, and not
Right.
that, I mean, we're following the law. So we weren't doing anything, I'm not able to, or I wasn't able to like make some decision that was arbitrary. The decision was based on the law. Don't get me wrong. And we did what we were supposed to do. But for me, it wasn't fulfilling. And I'm not doing anything that's not fulfilling because I don't have to. So,
Okay. So you kind of felt like me. I'm sure in New Haven you heard of AIDS Project New Haven with Miss Cofield,
yes.
right? So I was a case manager. I was a case manager for Miss Cofield, the
Okay.
AIDS Project right there on Chapel Street.
Mhm.
And when I started, I had like 53 clients. And then a year later, I had 25. And so that means I went to 20 something funerals in a year. And it just was like, okay, I want to help people, but this is depressing. Like
Right.
I'm not loving this. I'm not
Right.
loving what I'm doing.
Right.
And I just, and it was good money. The money
Right.
wasn't bad. It's
Oh,
like all
yeah.
of that. I couldn't do it because for me, it's like I would rather make okay money doing something
Mhm.
that I love than make a
Mhm.
whole lot of money doing something that disturbs my peace. That's just
Without a
me.
question. And that's it. I don't have a price. Like you can't just offer me money and I'm willing to do anything. I don't have a price. Like, because there's one, I'm a believer and I just feel like God has me. So whatever I need, my needs are already supplied. I know that. Like I trust in that every single day. So I'm not worried about that. So anything else is just extra. And I am not willing to sacrifice some things for this if it doesn't feel good. And it started to not feel good. It's not what I went to law school for. I'm like, no, this isn't it. I wanted to make an impact. And I wanted to help my community. And I was like,
Right. So
Mhm.
speaking of impact, I didn't mean to cut you off, excuse me. But
Okay.
speaking of impact, now that you have left the Department of Education, is it okay for me to ask you what is on the agenda now?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm gonna preface that by saying when you introduced me, you spoke about how the law field it's not chock full of Black women or Black people at all, to be honest. Black women represent less than 2% or maybe 2% of the legal field. Black attorneys, 2% are Black women. So that being said, one, it is definitely my goal just to encourage other Black girls. Like, this is not only that this is something you can do, you can literally do anything that you want to do. Like, you can do it. You can do it. So that's one thing. But specifically what I'm going to be doing, I want to work in estate planning. So I am really committed to helping people in our community just do better with estate planning. I can tell you that my wills, trust, and estates professor, she used to say all the time, like, when somebody dies in your family, every time somebody dies, it should be a come up. And it's only in our community. It's only in our community where we look down on insurance money. Like, do you realize how many of our white counterparts, their lives and everything that happened for them happened because of an inheritance?
Right.
An inheritance only happens when the person died. Like, somebody left in order for that person to get that overflow. And that, so like, that's probably just all working together with financial freedom for people in our community. Like, of course, I have on my assets over liabilities shirt. Like, this is, and I got this from EYL, Earn Your Leisure. I follow them, and I think that they're doing great things. But I just feel like it's time. Like, now is the time for Black people to just begin to elevate and just be able to go to the next level, but also to be able to make sure that the next generation is definitely in a better position than we are. I see so much wealth coming into the community now, like in so many ways, even as far as like cryptocurrency. Like, all the kids are running around saying they're going to invest in crypto, right? What happens when you die? Because you're going to die. We're all going to die. do people even know where your crypto wallet is? Like, will anyone know how to access your money? Is there enough money in that account to bury you? Will anyone know how to get access to it? If you have a child, like somebody, like women have children sometime with men that they're not even cool with anymore. Like you guys aren't even friends. If you pass away and you have a job, you have a decent job, and your job pays, life insurance to your child, do you know where that money's going to go? You can actually make a decision today as to how your child will be taken care of until they become of age. Actually, you can make a decision even past that if you have enough money. You know what I mean? You can put that money in a trust, and you can actually dictate that your child cannot get it until if education is important to you, your child cannot get that money until they graduate from undergrad. You have set a parameter or turn 28. Like these are things that you can actually control right now today. You can make that decision to ensure that, that things kind of go the way that you want them to go in the best interest of your children, of course, and your heirs and your family and your loved ones. These are decisions. This is like, this power is here now.
It's funny though. It's funny that you say that, because that particular problem about us and estate planning is not just common people. Prince went through it. German hymns went through it. Aretha went through it. Like it's not just common people that's not. It's just it's almost like we have a fear of it, right?
Well, but it's a real fear, and a fear is like passed down from generations. Because was it Malcolm X's grandfather? I believe it was, who the grandmother had a life insurance policy on him, but could not get the money. They wouldn't give her the money. I believe, don't quote me. I believe it was Malcolm X's grandfather. I could be incorrect on that, but I believe I'm correct. Nonetheless, these are things that happen all the time. Like we hear about this stuff, or you can look back and see these things. This happened. Insurance companies simply wouldn't honor the policy. Oh, that black man died. I'm not giving you the money. What could we do about it?
Right.
So black people used to have insurance. That was a thing. We had life insurance.
Listen,
we had lots of things.
Mr. Seymour came to our house every week to get that $5. Mr. Seymour came every week to get that $5. Like we had insurance. So
yes.
And I'm glad that you're going into that, because I try to tell people that you got to remember that even though we're behind, we are basically 250 years behind, though.
Without a question.
250 years behind. So you got to give us some leeway to make headway. Like you got to give us some leeway to make headway. We're only going to make headway when people like you step in the forefront and say, this is what we could be doing, right? Like this is what we could be doing.
It's the only way.
Right.
Because if you have knowledge and information, if we don't have it, if there's no one there to tell you this, I mean, how's it going to happen?
Right. And like you said, a lot of people have made a come up because of inheritance. I have a friend, I'm not going to mention his name, but when we were in high school, his mother died.
Mm-hmm.
His mother died. When we were in high school, his mother died. And his mother was smart. His mother was really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Like he got an enormous chunk of money when she died.
Mm-hmm.
But then she had something else waiting for him in the wing, that when he got older, he would be able to access that money. And as a young black man, we was like, yo, we didn't even think that his mother was smart. We thought she was rich. We thought she was rich.
Right.
Your mom was rich.
She to be, because only rich people get that.
Right, but she was smart though. Like she was real smart, and I'm glad that you're going into this particular area, because once again, this is one of these fields that if a lot of us are not in, well, not a lot of us, but if we're not in those fields, it's easy for us to be taken advantage of.
We get
Right?
left out. We get left out of everything. And so we're starting to catch up because, especially, I think the pandemic was, I mean, it almost hurts me to say great for Black people because so many things were so awful about the pandemic. We know that. But there were pockets, there were these areas where there was an awareness, there was an awakening. And that is those things, you know, again, we can't unsee it. So like there are people who have seen things in the markets, and you see all of this. There's just a lot of transferring going on, and I love to see it. I love to see it. So one of those ways it needs to be estate planning. Like it has to happen.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what it is? And you know what else though? Our access to information is not restricted anymore. Right? Like it's not restricted because see, it was a reason why they didn't want you to read. Right? Like it was a very intelligent reason why they didn't want you to read. They didn't want you to read because they wanted to keep you dumb. They didn't want you to read because they didn't want no competition.
Absolutely not. Because we're going to blow past you. So
Right.
What we do.
So, but now they can't stop it because the internet is right at your hands on your phone. It's right there. Any type of information you need, you can Google it, you can YouTube it, you can do anything that you need. And my stepson, he's doing cryptocurrency, and he's so excited about it that I'm not into it, but his excitement about it will make me sit down and listen to him for an hour and a half for him talking about cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Right. And he's hello, young man. Hello.
I knew it wouldn't be long. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You're a mom. and what are your kids' names?
This is Logan, my daughter, and this is my son, Glenn.
Okay. Hi, Logan. Okay, so I'm gonna let you get back to your mothering, but we've been talking for almost an hour now, and it doesn't feel like it, does it?
It does not. It does not.
At all. But before I let you go, there's another 2 questions that I gotta ask you.
Okay.
Okay. What are you doing to push the culture forward?
I am helping my people set up, just be ready and be financially free.
Okay.
And not only themselves, but also their heirs.
Exactly. And I need for you to name me 3 famous Black people.
Okay.
But they can't be athletes or entertainers.
Okay. Fannie Lou Hamer.
Okay.
Let's see, who else would I like to name? Let's see. Can't be an athlete or entertainer. Do you mean like current, or they can be historical?
Historical as well.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of my favorites and people who are not, well known.
Well, you see mine. Those are my.
I do. That's my daughter, just Frederick Douglass. Yours. Okay, so we have Fannie Lou. We have I'm trying to think of another woman. Who do I want to say? Gosh. Okay, can you give me 1 minute, bud? 1 second. Thank you. Who else? Let's say, I'm also trying to think of lawyers, and I'm being dramatic. So let me see. We have we could do Paulie. She was an attorney, and she was one of the first attorneys. She was just, I don't know, a pioneer, and she just broke all the barriers from gender equality to everything in between, and especially for Black and brown people. So I'll definitely say her. And then I'll say my favorite poet, and that's Maya Angelou. Or do you consider her an entertainer?
She's more like a a hero, right?
She's a hero. She is a hero. She's a
She's more
hero.
like a hero. She's one because it's like, to me, I think poetry is not entertaining. It's educational.
It's definitely educational.
Right? Like it's and it could be educational in regards to secular knowledge, but I think like it's more educational to your soul, right? Like
definitely. It feeds you. It feeds your mind. It expands your mind. It makes you think. It causes you to like, there's things that you have, like things have to be reconciled after you read some poetry. Like you have to go back and say, wait a minute. Right. That's true. Like when you look at like, our songs also, okay, so we're not talking about, entertainment, but still Billie Holiday. When you think about Strange Fruit, like there are just things that to me, a lot of songs are poetry. But when you listen to those words, it's like there are some things that have to be reconciled after you hear that.
Right. My favorite female poet is Nikki Giovanni. So
I was on a Zoom with Nikki Giovanni maybe a year ago. It was crazy. I'm not kidding. It was crazy. It was really good.
Before I let you go, I gotta ask you one question.
Okay.
Did you ever get the chance to meet Mrs. Westling?
Who's Frances Mrs. Westling?
Frances Quest Westling. She was a professor at Howard. She wrote the ISIS papers.
Oh, I did not. No, I did not.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
But I will tell you that there's so many great professors at Howard. It's crazy. But one of my favorite professors, and of course now his name escaped me, Dr. Carr. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Gregory Carr.
Yeah, I heard Gregory Carr. Yeah.
And he is just like he was my professor at Howard Law. He teaches a class at Howard Law. And when I say he's my third Black person, that's who I'm going to say, Dr. Gregory Carr, because he is, he's a national treasure, and people just don't know. They don't know. He's on CNN sometimes, sure, and he was doing a podcast some of the pandemic, and he actually broke down the Billie Holiday movie. But he is, the information and the years that this man can spit out, like at the drop of a dime, he's like, oh yeah, well, in 1934, so and so, and I'm like, who did what, and you were walking where with who, and he's talking about a conversation.
Well, he is, to me, he's a more refined Dick Gregory.
100%.
Right? 100%. A more refined Dick Gregory.
Yes.
Right? Just a more, because Dick Gregory has a mind that, like, where did you come up with that? Like how did you think that?
How did you put that together? How did you make that correlation? I never even thought of that, but you're right. Like
you're right. That's like Gregory. That's what Dr. Carr is.
Of those people, and that's why they have to be given their flowers now. Like whenever Dr. Carr, he speaks, like he has his thing on YouTube. You have to listen because he's a national treasure. It's like, it's incredible. And the same thing with Dick Gregory. To be honest, in DC, I would just see him walking all the time in my neighborhood, and he would stop us, and he would talk to us and ask us questions and all sorts of things. And it's just, those are the things. These are the moments. Okay, I'm sorry, my child is.
Don't get me wrong. So, are you going independent with your estate planning? Okay. Do you have everything situated? Because if you do, I would like for you to tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
Well, I will say that they can get in touch with me now on my personal email. 1 second. I know. Give me 1 second. My personal email is lraineyhammett@gmail.com, and you can drop a link. The name of the company is Gold Mind, kind of like gold mine. But I haven't, my website isn't finished. So that's all that stuff is a work in progress. So they can reach out to me.
What I do is I'll put a link on my social media to your email if they want to get in touch with you about estate planning. But I'm not going to wish you luck on your future endeavors, because luck has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to
right?
do with it.
It has
Nothing.
nothing to do with it. I'm going to tell you to continue to be strong and continue to be who you are. And if you need me for anything, I'm right here.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to talk. And, this was great. I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too. Everyone, Miss Leonette Rainey-Hammett.
Yes. Thank you.
Now go take care of your kids. Thank you, baby.
It's bedtime. Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, estate planning. I see a lot of people doing it, and I'm glad that she came online to not tell us about it, but let everyone know that is what she's going to be doing. Hey man, that was a great interview. The time went by fast, but I want to say this. If you ever thought about doing anything in life, professionally, leisurely, or you have an idea or a business endeavor that you want to try to accomplish, then don't get in your own way. Do not get in your own way. And what I mean by that is a lot of us, we tend to overthink, and we tend to want everything in place for us before we make a move. And everything is never going to be in place. Everything is never going to align. Success is enjoyable when you know that you stepped out there on prayer and on faith, and you did the work and you accomplished what you set out to do. Do not get in your own way. You can accomplish whatever you will. And I always say, where there's a will, there's a way. And God created you with a will, so there's always a way. So I leave you, as I always do. Remember, in order for you to receive a blessing, you must first be a blessing. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next Monday.